Welcome to this explainer. All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to expose how inventory, what usually looks like just a bunch of dusty boxes sitting in a warehouse, is actually a primary tool for profit manipulation. If you thought accounting was just boring numbers, well, prepare to uncover the dark arts of the balance sheet.
Let's dive right in. Have you ever wondered how massive financial losses can seemingly just vanish, like completely disappear from a corporate balance sheet, leaving a failing company looking highly profitable? Let me tell you, it isn't magic. It's done using some very creative, carefully hidden accounting tricks. And for us as everyday investors, these are exactly the kinds of illusions that can trick us into buying sinking stocks.
So how do we stop these financial illusions? Well, we rely on a strict regulatory framework known as Accounting Standard 2, or AS2. Think of AS2 as basically the ultimate rulebook. It dictates exactly how inventory must be valued and reported, and it's specifically designed to catch these creative accountants right in the act. Today, we're going to decode exactly how it protects us.
Let's start with Section 1, the valuation shell game. Subtitle here is Inflating the Numbers.
Historically, companies absolutely loved exploiting a major loophole, which was flip-flopping between valuation methods, things like FIFO and weighted average. Why do they do this? Because it essentially allowed them to just pick whatever profit number they wanted to show investors for that specific quarter. It's an incredibly easy way to artificially boost a stock price. But AS2 firmly shuts this down. It mandates that you cannot change your method unless it results in a more accurate presentation. And if you actually do make a change, you have to fully quantify and disclose exactly how that change impacted the final numbers. So no more hiding behind shifting math.
Okay, moving on to another classic trick, the net realizable value, or NRV illusion. See, accountants will often try to delay necessary write-downs. They'll use these wildly optimistic future selling prices to inflate their current profits with basically hot air. They promise investors, hey, this inventory will sell for a massive premium someday. But the reality, it's often much lower. It's grounded in the cold, hard, verifiable market evidence of what that inventory is actually worth today. AS2 addresses this directly by copying that optimistic bubble. It straight up forces companies to value inventory at the lower of cost or net realizable value at every single reporting date. And they can't just guess, right? They have to use hard market evidence like recent transactions. If there's a decline in value, AS2 demands it gets recognized immediately. There is absolutely zero stalling permitted just to make the current quarter look a little better. Furthermore, AS2 ensures these valuation formulas can't just hide in the shadows. The standard explicitly mandates that the accounting policy for inventory valuation, including the cost formula and its components, must be clearly disclosed in the financial statements. This absolute transparency is crucial. It ensures that anyone reading the reports knows exactly what ingredients went into baking that final profit number.
Which brings us to Section 2, hiding the real costs, stuffing the inventory.
So, AS2 draws a really hard line on what costs can actually be attached to your inventory. Now, necessary costs, things like bringing inventory to its present location and condition, those are perfectly fine to capitalize. But abnormal wastage, excessive storage, or just sheer operational inefficiencies, AS2 absolutely bans these from being quietly tucked away into the inventory's value. By forcing these costs to be expensed immediately, management can't just hide their costly mistakes on the balance sheet. I mean, think about it. If a factory wastes a ton of material because of a terrible process, that loss has to hit the profit statement right away.
And this extends perfectly into the issue of overheads. Companies love using arbitrary overhead allocation, or they'll just selectively drop necessary costs entirely, which completely distorts the financial picture. AS2 fixes this by demanding a strict, systematic approach. Fixed and variable production overheads, they must be allocated based purely on normal production capacity. Basically, arbitrary math is out. Systematic, real-world business operations are in.
All right, Section 3, Ghost Inventory and Misdirection. We're talking smoke and mirrors on the warehouse floor.
Mixing up raw materials and finished goods is a classic misdirection tactic, but AS16 cracks down on this hard. Finished goods, work in progress, and raw materials, they all have to be clearly defined, and those definitions must be consistently applied. And the real teeth of this rule? Well, if a misclassification actually affects the valuation, AS16 treats it as a material misstatement. You simply cannot look at an unassembled pile of parts and call it a premium finished product just to boost its on-paper value.
To hunt down this so-called ghost inventory, AST2 dictates a pretty rigorous, multi-step audit trail. Step 1. Conduct periodic physical verification of the stock. Like, literally go out there and count the boxes. Step 2, perform an inventory aging analysis. Step 3, identify any obsolete or discrepant items. And finally, step 4, write down those old, slow-moving items to their actual value, or even to zero. This process completely exposes old, dust-gathering stock that's somehow still magically listed at full retail value in the company ledgers.
AS2 leaves absolutely no wiggle room here. The standard clearly states that discrepancies between inventory records and actual stock must be adjusted in the books immediately, with proper disclosure. So ignoring obsolete inventory or failing to match your ledgers with the actual boxes on the shelves, doing that forces immediate financial adjustments and public disclosure, so everybody knows exactly what happened.
That brings us to Section 4, the final verdict, seeking true economic substance.
The core philosophy behind all of these rules boils down to this: inventory shall be valued in a manner that reflects true economic substance. That right there is the definitive guiding standard. Financial reporting isn't about playing clever mathematical games. It isn't about hiding your inefficiencies or shuffling overhead costs around like a deck of cards. It's about reflecting cold, hard reality. Ultimately, there are severe consequences for manipulation. Whether a company artificially inflates their inventory value to look better or deliberately hides it to understate their profits, under AS2, both of those are treated as blatant misrepresentations. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is just an accurate, honest financial picture. Nothing more and nothing less.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you sit down to review a company's balance sheet before investing your hard-earned money, ask yourself, are the numbers you're looking at representing true economic reality? Or are you just falling for a really well-crafted accounting illusion? Well, armed with an understanding of AS2, you now know exactly where to look for the truth. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes open out there.